Alright, so today we're diving into different kinds of arguments that you'll encounter in CARS passages on the MCAT, and how understanding these can help you better navigate and answer questions. Each passage involves some form of argument, whether it's about facts, definitions, evaluations, or proposals. Knowing the different argument types will help you approach passages with a strategy in mind and understand how the test writers structure these arguments. Let's start with the first type, arguments of fact. Arguments of fact aim to determine whether something is true or not. These passages typically explore controversies or challenge established beliefs by presenting evidence that needs to be interpreted. For example, you might encounter passages asking about the economic impact of certain regulations, the benefits of music education, or historical debates about ancient civilizations. In factual arguments, the author usually sets the stage with observations, introduces a hypothesis, and may present counter-arguments. The evidence provided is often hard evidence, such as data or specific examples, rather than abstract logic. To read these passages effectively, consider the following questions. What is the issue at stake? Is there a controversy? And what are the different viewpoints? What is the author's hypothesis, and how do they refine or qualify their claim? Is the evidence solid? Does it warrant the conclusions being drawn? How is the argument organized? Arguments of fact can present challenges because details can quickly pile up. If you find yourself getting overwhelmed by information, slow down and mentally organize the details. Don't try to memorize everything. Instead, understand the flow and structure. This way, you can better navigate any questions that ask you to connect specific details to the overall argument. Arguments of definition. Next, we have arguments of definition, which revolve around clarifying the meaning of a controversial term or concept. In these passages, the goal is often to determine if something fits within a certain category. For example, you might see questions on whether a particular behavior constitutes art, or whether an organization can be considered racist without its members being individually racist. Arguments of definition can use different types of definitions. Formal definitions. These involve specific criteria that classify something as a member of a category. For instance, a bird is a warm-blooded vertebrate with feathers and wings. Operational definitions. These are more functional and define something by its measurable activity or the conditions under which it occurs. Definition by example. This approach lists examples of members within the category to define something. Typically, an argument of definition will start with a claim about whether something is or isn't part of a class, followed by a general definition that serves as the grounds for the claim. The rest of the argument demonstrates why the claim is warranted. When tackling these passages, ask yourself, what definition is the author trying to establish? How does the definition support or challenge existing beliefs? Are there examples that strengthen or weaken the definition? These passages can be especially challenging if they come from modern philosophy or social theory. The language may be abstract, requiring you to dig deeper into the underlying ideas and how they connect to the definition being argued. Arguments of evaluation. Arguments of evaluation involve making judgments about the quality of something. These judgments can be based on quantitative data, such as statistics or survey results, or on qualitative criteria like subjective impressions. The author's goal is to convince you of the value or quality of something, or to explore the criteria used to make the judgment. Here are some questions to keep in mind. What is the author's claim regarding the quality or value of something? What criteria does the author use for evaluation? Is there a controversy or different viewpoints? What evidence does the author provide to support their judgment? Questions following arguments of evaluation passages often ask you to apply the author's criteria to situations not mentioned in the passage. You might also encounter questions about reasoning beyond the text, where you'll need to extend the evaluation criteria to a new scenario. Proposal arguments. Finally, proposal arguments aim to persuade the reader that a change in policy or practice is necessary. These arguments are action-oriented, focusing on the future. A proposal typically starts by establishing that a problem exists and then introduces a solution to address it. Proposal arguments usually follow this structure. Claim of a problem or need. The author identifies a problem that is not being addressed adequately. Evidence supporting the problem. This may involve statistics, anecdotes, or other forms of evidence. Proposed solution. The author outlines specific actions to take. Evidence for feasibility and effectiveness. The argument provides support for why the proposed solution would work. Acknowledgement of counter-arguments. The author discusses other potential solutions and explains why their proposal is better. When reading a proposal argument, it's helpful to approach the passage with a critical mindset, as if you're not easily persuaded. This will help you identify any weak points in the argument and recognize when the author is trying to persuade you through appeals that may not be entirely warranted. Putting it all together. It's important to remember that not every Carr's passage will fit neatly into one of these categories. Most passages will contain elements of different argument types, such as mixing factual claims with proposals or combining definitions with evaluations. The goal is not to categorize the passage, but to understand how the different elements work together to build the overall argument. When reading critically, ask yourself questions like, what is the author's primary goal? Are they trying to inform, persuade, or propose a change? How does the argument develop? What types of evidence are used? Are there counter-arguments or concessions that strengthen the passage? By understanding these different types of arguments, you'll be better equipped to tackle Carr's passages with a clear strategy. You'll know what to look for in terms of evidence, structure, and persuasive techniques. Practical application. Now, let's put this knowledge into practice. Review passages you've worked on previously, and try to identify the main argument type. Ask yourself how the author constructs the argument and what evidence they use. Understanding the structure will help you anticipate what types of questions may follow and how to approach them. By the time you're done, you should have a much clearer understanding of the various argument types and how they appear in Carr's passages. And remember, for more practice, download the King of the Curve app or visit kingofthecurve.org. We offer over 200 free Carr's passages to help you get the practice you need. Let's boost those scores together.